Okay, so we have here these functions h of x, g of x, and f of x. They are all twice differentiable. Okay, that means that they have derivatives everywhere in both their first derivative and their second derivative. And they've given us certain values in this table down here. Okay, and they want us to basically evaluate what they've given us here using this equation. Okay, so this table, let's basically break this down. This column is my x values. X is 1, x is 2. So basically, f of x when x is 1 is negative 1. F of x when x is 2 is 2. Okay? This is f prime. These are values of f prime at 1 and 2. These are values of g at 1 and 2, and these are g prime at 1 and 2. Okay? So we're going to use these values to evaluate the questions that they've asked us to do. So they've told us that h of x equals 2f of x minus 3g of x. Find h prime at 1. Okay, so before I can find h prime at 1, I need to find out, hey, what is h prime, period. Okay, so we got to find the derivative. Now we're going to take the derivative. This is 2 times f of x, so constant multiple rules, so it's 2 times the derivative of f, which is f prime, minus 3 times the derivative of g of x, which is g prime of x. Okay, then we're going to say, okay, h prime at 1, okay, which means I've plugged in 1 for x in here. So what am I going to do for all the other x's? I'm going to plug in 1. So 2 times f prime at 1 minus 3 times g prime at 1. Okay, well, what is f prime at 1? Well, that's where my table comes in. F prime at 1 is negative 2. So this is 2 times negative 2. Minus 3 times, what's g prime at 1? G prime at 1 is 4. So 2 times negative 2 is negative 4, minus 3 times 4, which is 12. And negative 4 minus 12 is negative 16. So h prime at 1 is negative 16. That's it. Okay, so let's look at the next one. Okay, they've given us h of x equals 10 minus 3g of x. They want us to find h prime at 2. Same thing. First thing I have to do is find h prime of x. Well, what's the derivative of 10? 0. Minus 3 times the derivative of g of x, which is g prime of x. Now, we're going to use that to find, okay, what is h prime at 2? Well, that's going to be 0 minus 3 times g prime at 2. Well, that's negative 3 times, what's g prime at 2? G prime at 2 is 5. So this is negative 15. Okay? So basically we're doing our derivative rules using function notation, and then using these values, whatever they are, and plugging them in and finding what the derivative is at that point, or the slope of h at 2, the slope of h at 1. Okay? So let's look at this one. This one's a little more involved. Okay? So h of x is f of x times g of x. Find h prime at 2. So again, first thing I have to do is I need to find h prime of x. So using product rule, because this is a function times a function, literally this function f times function g, so I have to use product rule. So derivative of the first times the second plus the first times the derivative of the second, that is my derivative. Now I'm going to find h prime at 2. So f prime at 2 times g of 2 plus f of 2 times g prime of 2. And again, I'm going to find these values by using my chart. So f prime at 2 is 3. So this is 3 times g at 2, which is 4, plus f of 2, which is 2, times g prime at 2, which is 5. So this is 3 times 4, which is 12, plus 2 times 5, which is 10, which is 22. So this is 22. So again, all we're doing is we're just taking the derivative using our derivative rules given to us like this, then plugging in the value they're asking us to plug in, using the table to find those values, and then simplifying. Okay? And now the last one. So you can see right here, this is literally finding the derivative of h, which is a function divided by a function. When you have a function divided by function, we're doing quotient rule. Okay? So first find h prime. So it's the low function times the derivative of the high function minus f of x times the derivative of the low, which is g prime, all over the low function squared. Now we're plugging in 1, so h prime at 1 equals g at 1 times f prime at 1 minus f at 1 times g prime at 1 all over g at 1 squared. Which means now we use our table. G of 1 is 2 times f prime at 1, which is negative 2, minus f at 1, which is negative 1, times g prime at 1, which is 4, all over g at 1, which is 2, squared. So I've plugged in my values. So 2 times negative 2 is negative 4 minus a negative, so that's going to make a negative 4 minus, so plus 4 over 4. So negative 4 plus 4 is 0 over 4, which is 0, which means that the derivative at 1 is 0. So the slope at 1 is 0. Well, if you remember what we've been talking about recently, that means that this has a horizontal tangent at 1. But again, we're finding the derivative using the functions, plugging in the value just like we've been doing. The only difference is that we have to use the chart. We get our values for those here, plug them in, and simplify.